Call Me Ishmael, a gateway to the themes of Moby Dick and Ahab's quest for dominion. The opening sentence of Herman Melville's Moby Dick, Call Me Ishmael, is one of the most iconic and enigmatic first lines in literature. Its brevity and informality conceal layers of meaning that resonate with the novel's larger themes, including identity, isolation, and humanity's fraught relationship with the natural world. Through Ishmael's invitation to be called by a name rather than identified by one, Melville sets the stage for a story about power, dominion, and the perilous quest for control, as embodied in Captain Ahab's obsession with the white whale. In this essay, we will explore how Ishmael's ambiguous self-presentation mirrors and contrasts with Ahab's delusional attempt to impose his will over creation, particularly the vast, uncontrollable ocean and its monstrous inhabitant. Ishmael's understated introduction becomes a philosophical counterpoint to Ahab's hubristic ambition, framing the novel as an exploration of humanity's struggle to define its place within an indifferent universe, identity, and the act of naming. The phrase "Call Me Ishmael" immediately establishes the narrator's detachment from fixed identity. By instructing the reader to call him Ishmael, rather than asserting "My name is Ishmael," the narrator suggests an identity that is fluid, chosen, or perhaps even imposed by others. This act of self-naming resonates with the biblical Ishmael, the outcast son of Abraham, who is destined to wander the wilderness. Ishmael, then, is not merely an individual, but a representative of humanity's exile from certainty, meaning, and connection. This ambiguous self-identification sharply contrasts with Ahab's approach to identity and power. Ahab, throughout the novel, seeks not only to define himself but to impose his definitions upon the world around him. His obsession with Moby Dick is rooted in the belief that he can assign meaning to the whale, transforming it into a symbol of his suffering and a target for his wrath. Where Ishmael accepts the inherent instability of identity, Ahab rebels against it, attempting to master and define a universe that resists his control. Dominion over creation, Ahab's cosmic rebellion. Ahab's quest to kill Moby Dick is a metaphor for humanity's desire to dominate the natural world. The whale, with its immense power and inscrutable nature, represents the untamable forces of creation. For Ahab, this is intolerable. He perceives the whale not as an animal, but as an affront to his own autonomy, a symbol of the divine or natural order that mocks his human limitations. In this context, Call Me Ishmael reflects an attitude of humility and openness that stands in stark contrast to Ahab's cosmic hubris. Ishmael's willingness to be called suggests a recognition that identity and meaning are not solely within his control. They are relational, shaped by the interaction between self and world. Ahab, by contrast, seeks dominion not only over Moby Dick, but over the entire natural order, declaring his intention to strike through the mask and confront whatever malevolent force he believes lies behind the whale's inscrutability. The ocean as a metaphor for creation. The ocean in Moby Dick is both a literal setting and a metaphor for creation itself, vast, unknowable, and indifferent to human ambition. Ahab's obsession with Moby Dick is emblematic of his desire to impose order on this chaotic expanse, to master what cannot be mastered. Ishmael, on the other hand, approaches the ocean with a sense of wonder and humility. He embarks on the Pequod not to conquer but to observe, to immerse himself in the mysteries of the sea. Call Me Ishmael aligns the narrator with a perspective that acknowledges humanity's smallness within the cosmos. This attitude is fundamentally opposed to Ahab's worldview, which sees the natural world as something to be dominated. Ahab's quest to kill Moby Dick is a rebellion against the ocean's indifference, a futile attempt to assert human significance in a universe that refuses to grant it. Biblical allusions and the theme of alienation. The name Ishmael carries significant biblical connotations, further emphasizing the themes of alienation and human frailty. In the Bible, Ishmael is cast out into the wilderness, destined to live on the margins of society. Similarly, Ishmael in Moby Dick is a wanderer, a man adrift both literally and metaphorically. His narrative begins with disconnection and aimlessness, a state that contrasts sharply with Ahab's single-minded pursuit of vengeance. Ahab, too, can be seen as a biblical figure, one who defies divine will and seeks to challenge the natural order. His obsession with Moby Dick echoes the hubris of figures like Lucifer, who rebel against the authority of creation itself. In this light, the novel becomes a tale of two contrasting approaches to the human condition: Ishmael's acceptance of exile and Ahab's defiance of it. Humility versus hubris, the human struggle. At its core, Call Me Ishmael introduces a narrator who embodies humility and curiosity, traits that serve as a foil to Ahab's hubris and aggression. Where Ishmael seeks understanding, Ahab seeks conquest. Where Ishmael accepts the fluidity of identity and the limits of human knowledge, Ahab demands certainty and control. These opposing attitudes frame the novel's central conflict, the tension between humanity's desire for dominion and the reality of its place within an uncaring universe. Conclusion: the quiet power of Call Me Ishmael. Call Me Ishmael is more than a simple introduction. It is the thematic overture to the grand symphony of Moby Dick. Through this understated opening, Melville signals the novel's exploration of identity, power, and humanity's relationship with the natural world. Ishmael's humility and openness to being called stand in stark contrast to Ahab's destructive quest for dominion. In the end, Ahab's attempt to master creation leads to his destruction, while Ishmael's willingness to embrace uncertainty allows him to survive. This dichotomy reminds us that while we may yearn for control and certainty, true wisdom lies in accepting the mysteries of existence and in recognizing that sometimes the best we can do is simply call ourselves Ishmael.